Welcome back to Term 4, Week 1. This is your first Humanities lesson. Our learning intention today is to be able to discuss the diversity of Australia's First Peoples, to be able to discuss the longevity of Australia's First Peoples. Our success criteria: I can identify Australia's First Peoples. So it is estimated that Aboriginal people have lived continuously in Australia for over 60,000 years. They are the oldest civilization known to man. They have developed a close connection to the land that provided them with food and shelter. Their spiritual connection to country with the land, sky and sea means they were conservationists, means they cared for the land that cared for them. These practices and connection to the land have been passed on for thousands of years from generation to generation. A convict called Joseph Lycett created watercolour paintings of Aboriginal people showing their way of life. Joseph Lycett, who was born in 1775 and died in 1828, came to Australia as a convict after being sentenced to transportation for the forgery of pound notes. Lycett was convicted of forgery in 1811 and sentenced to 14 years transportation. He arrived in Australia in 1814 and spent time at the Newcastle settlement, where the commandant urged him to show the traditional way of life of the Awabakal people in his paintings. Let's have a little look at this video about Joseph Lycett.
Are you good at art? Joseph Lycett was, although he didn't always use his skills for good rather than evil. Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm an educator here at the National Library of Australia in Canberra, and we're in the Treasures Gallery to look at the Lycett album. When we think about the types of work that convicts did after being transported to Australia, we usually think of back-breaking tasks like building roads. So it may come as a bit of a surprise to learn that the images in this beautiful watercolour album were actually the product of convict labour. Joseph Lycett was a talented artist, but was convicted of forging pound notes in 1811. For his crime, he was transported to New South Wales to serve a 14-year prison sentence. Once in Australia, Lycett showed good behaviour and earned his ticket of leave, but he couldn't help himself, and in 1815 he was convicted of forgery again and sentenced to 3 years hard labour in Newcastle. While imprisoned in Newcastle, Lycett's skill as an artist was noticed by Captain James Wallace. Wallace was keen to show that he could keep the peace between the convicts in his care and the local Indigenous people. So he allowed Lycett to observe and paint the Indigenous people as his punishment. The paintings Lycett completed are included in this album, and they show the everyday activities of the Awabakal people, including land management, hunting and gathering food, socialising, and rituals. Lycett must have had a good relationship with the Awabakal people because he spent a lot of time with them, and he had access to some situations that other people might not have been able to see. Although we'll never know the exact circumstances of how well they actually got on. Lycett's work was not very popular with audiences at the time. They were used to seeing attractive pictures of the plants and animals of the colony. For them, his pictures were sometimes hard to understand, and he didn't sell many. Today, Lycett's images are an important historical record. They give us a detailed insight into what everyday life was like for the Indigenous people in the Newcastle area at a time when the world was changing rapidly around them. Through these works, we can learn about their social interactions and customs during the first 10 or 15 years of European settlement in the area. So, over a period of about 200 years, Lycett's paintings have gone from almost unsellable to invaluable.
Here are some examples, or 5 examples, of Joseph Lycett's paintings of the lives of Aboriginal people. This one is titled Australian Aboriginal Men Hunting Waterbirds. Aboriginal family. Aboriginal Australians night fishing by fire torches. Also notice the gathering of people over here because we're going to discuss their social interactions. This one is titled Contest with Spears, Shields and Clubs. 2 Aboriginal men fighting for eels. Fishing for eels, I should say. So your task today, you need to go back and pause this video on all 5 of the Lycett paintings to find evidence of the way the people he depicted lived off the land and their way of life. So in your book, you are going to rule up a table with 3 columns. Your first column is going to be labelled food. Your second column is going to be labelled shelter. And your third column is going to be community or family and friends. So using those 5 images that I have included in this PowerPoint and using the images that you saw in the video, I want you to use evidence from those pictures and put those in those columns under each of those. For example, food. You would put how they hunted for food. So I think I saw some of the Aboriginal people using spears to hunt kangaroos. We saw they used spears to hunt for eels. So you'll need to put the kind of food that they are looking for and how they achieve that food as well. Shelter, you can include things such as I saw in one of the paintings on the video, there's a little tent-like structure they've made to shelter from a storm, and also they were sheltering in a cave as well. So that's task number 1. Task number 2, you need to answer these questions. And we want you to answer these questions in full sentences. What can we learn about the past from paintings? How is a painting different from a photograph? With that one, think about how a photograph captures an image as it is, and a painting is often how the artist is seeing something in front of him. Do you think that paintings, including the 5 by Lycett, are always accurate in what they show? So they are your 2 tasks. Once again, you can complete those in your book. If you like, a teacher-made link has been posted on the lesson plan if you prefer to complete your tasks online. Your next Humanities lesson is going to be live. Your teacher will let you know when this will be, but the work that you're doing today, please bring it to your next lesson because there will be an opportunity to share your findings and discuss the Lycett paintings and how Aboriginal people lived before European settlement for thousands of years. I hope you look forward to this interesting topic and we'll see you soon.